Now, you're in Washington, D.C. We've been seeing thousands of protesters in support of President Trump who claim there is potential voter fraud. What's your take on this?
My take on it is that it is extremely dangerous. We have a president and his minions who are seeking to delegitimize our democratic institutions and a very well-run election. The truth is that Donald Trump lost this election, and he is in various ways casting aspersions on that in order to build up an army of millions and millions of voters who do not believe the election was fair and simply won't apparently believe that it's fair unless it's overturned and their man wins. This is a threat to our democracy and a very dangerous moment, actually.
Marianne, how much change do you think you will see starting January 1, Inauguration Day? Because between now and then, there's a lot to contend with, and as we're seeing the protests taking place.
What are you asking? I'm sorry, what did you say again about January 20th?
Well, the Inauguration Day, January 20, between now and then, what will we be seeing, do you think?
Well, we don't know, but this is a very dangerous moment. This is as dangerous as any moment throughout the president's tenure. He has fired some very top-level officials at our Department of Defense, which is very, very concerning. This is not normally something the president would be doing with only 69 days left in office. So our country is on alert. Our country is, what we're facing here is something that countries throughout the world are facing right now, which is a rise of a global threat of a right-wing authoritarianism. And this is simply the American form of it. And what the president will do, and what is particularly shocking here is not only what he is doing, because we've gotten to know his personality. The world has gotten to know his personality. But what is particularly shocking is how much support he's getting from leaders, particularly in the Republican Party, who not only should know better, but do know better and are willing to go along at the expense of the U.S. Constitution.
What do you think are the most important things that you believe need to change in the U.S.?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of things that have been traditions will now have to become laws. We never, certainly in our lifetime, could have even imagined a Democrat or a Republican president showing such profound disrespect and disregard for not only our Constitution, but the principles that are the pillars of our democracy. And so there are going to have to be some serious protections put in place so that no president in the future can ever do the kind of damage that this one has done so cavalierly.
Marianne, you ran for presidency in 2020 and participated in the first two debates. Let's take a listen to some of what you had to say.
We need to say it like it is. It's bigger than Flint. It's all over this country. It's particularly people of color. It's particularly people who do not have the money to fight back. And if the Democrats don't start saying it, then why would those people feel that they're there for us? And if those people don't feel it, they won't vote for us, and Donald Trump will win.
Very powerful. Would you consider running again in 2024?
I don't know. Every part of me said to run last time. If I ever feel that kind of serious call, I suppose I will. I would say that it was an equal amount of exhilaration and brutality. It's not something to do lightly, but if I ever feel that call again, then I certainly will.
And also you mentioned in your podcast, COVID is a wake-up call, and I believe that the Trump presidency is a wake-up call. We have to ask ourselves, have we really woken up, because the next wake-up call could be even more harsh? What do you mean by this, Marianne? It's very powerful.
Well, we have seen so many ways in which institutions that we felt would be able to protect us in the face of an emergency have not. This is true in terms of climate catastrophe. It's true in terms of COVID, and obviously it's been true in terms of some of the overreach of the Trump presidency. My concern, of course, has to do with nuclear disasters, after which we would have no second chances. So I think that many people, certainly in my country, realize that much of what has happened has been a result of the fact that too many of us have been chronically disengaged from the political process, just assuming other people were handling it. And that's not how a democracy is supposed to work. In a country where the people are self-governing, you can't just weigh in with your elected officials every 2 years or every 4 years, particularly when huge corporate entities and their lobbyists are weighing in all day, every day. So this has been an awakening in this country. And I think the fact that Biden won the election is a sign that the American people were ready to to be done with a president who displayed such egregious disregard for our laws and for our system. But what's happening right now is certainly a sign that Biden just winning the election doesn't mean that our journey of pushing back against these undemocratic forces is over. And in some ways, we've only just begun.
Many people are saying that we're seeing a shift in the way some people lead with higher levels of empathy and also seeing more women in leadership roles. How important is this and why are people saying this, in fact, that we need it?
Well, look at the global responses to COVID. Some of the countries where women have been in charge have had the best results. So that speaks for itself. But also there is an understanding of the psychological and emotional dynamics that play in ultimate political results that I think people are beginning to understand. This is the 21st century. The 21st century has a much more holistic, whole person perspective than did the 20th century. People are realizing the world is not just a big machine where you tweak the pieces of the machine if you want to change things. We have to understand, look at Germany after World War I. Germany, World War I, the German people were so crushed by the reparations of Deutschmark till we tell you to stop, that their collective despair was a petri dish out of which the societal dysfunction of their vulnerability to Hitler could almost have been predicted. And we are seeing here in the United States, as you can see in any area of the world, that the economic despair of tens of millions of people was a large part of what led up to the ascendance of Donald Trump. We're beginning to understand that people's despair, people's anxiety, people's tension, particularly around economic issues, can lead to societal dysfunctions and pathology that no democracy can afford to ignore.